Hi guys, so I've just finished my last exam in medical school. Result has been released and I passed my exam. Do you know what that means? That means I'm going to be a doctor. But also that means that the study tips that I implemented in my last revision, in my final exams in medical school work, and for that reason I'll be sharing with you in this video. So if you're new here, my name is Mariam. I'm a medical doctor in Nigeria now. And I just passed my final last exam in medical school. So I'm done with medical school for now. I'm done with medical school forever. So now let's get into it. So if there's one thing that is constant across medical school around the world, it is that the volume of information to be learned is enormous, and you tend to need above average knowledge of nearly all of the concepts when approaching your final exam. I'm going to be sharing you some tips that will help you save your grades this session. And now you have to know that these tips are not specific to medical school. As long as you have an exam that you need to get a grade up, you should listen to these tips that I'm about to share in this video. So the first tip, and the most important tip, is that you want to know the extent of your syllabus, and particularly the high yield point. In medicine, there's a saying that common things occur common. So typically, a huge chunk of your exam, the things that are going to be assessed on, is going to be based on these common things. And we tend to call it the high yield topics in medicine. I don't know if that is what they call it in other faculties as well, but these are like high yield topics that you need to focus on for a big chunk of your exam. And so apart from knowing the extent of your syllabus, what you need to cover, what you need to know, one other thing that you also need to focus on is you want to study the patterns of past questions specific to your faculty, specific to your class. So you want to know what kind of questions do they ask, and also how are you being tested on that information. Typically in your final classes, you are most likely not going to be asked the definition or explanation of certain concepts, but rather you'll be given information that would assess your knowledge of this concept and its application to real life scenarios. So for instance, in medicine, they'll probably not ask you define hemostasis, but they might ask you how do you secure hemostasis in a particular type of patient. So you want to know how the questions are being asked, the pattern, and also the extent of what you are going to be tested. Because to be honest, not all topics are created equally. You cannot afford to spend a huge chunk of your time on questions that are very, very niche and they do not tend to ask it, rather than on question that you are certain is going to come out in one form or the other in the exam. So that takes me to the second, is be lazy. I know that sounds counterproductive, but what I mean by this is that this is not the time for you to be making reference notes or flashcards or summaries of this stuff. Most likely these resources are already created, but making of them is it's really just passive learning, and it's a very huge time saving. There's a colleague of yours or your friend or a friend of yours or someone in your study group who most likely already has all of this created, and all you have to do is ask. I know this sounds kind of parasitic, but personally, this is a back and forth thing. You give some, you take some, because when you think about it, there is a sheer amount of information, and it is almost not possible for you to have everything that you need, the resources that you need to focus across all of the topics. So what you want to do is utilize the resources that are already created. So all you have to do is get access to it, ask your colleague, and alternatively there are YouTube channels and podcasts that explain concepts in 5 minutes or less. You want to utilize this as well. Like if you are the kind of person that utilizes flashcards, Quizlet and Anki, they already have pre-made decks that you can make use of. So this is not the time for you to start making summaries, case notes, flashcards and all of that. This is the time for you to be lazy and utilize the resources that are already available. Making use of this is a better use of your time than passively creating your time. So the first two tips are about you accessing and prioritizing your study materials. Now we are moving on to actually studying them, internalizing them in the most efficient way possible. So you have to know that these tips, they are not about you avoiding the work, but they are about you prioritizing the most efficient pathway to doing it. So the third tip that I'll be sharing with you is to have an effective study routine. So with this, you want to prioritize the high yield points like I spoke about earlier, and also your weaknesses. It won't serve you well to start rereading things that you already know. Although I do have to admit that it feels good, but this is not the time. We do not have that much time on our hands right now. So your weaknesses, you need to know them, and your high yield topics, these are what we are going to be prioritizing during our study routine, right? So what you want to do is you want to allocate time toward this and also prioritize going through and actually solving past questions or the practice questions that are specific to your school, to your institution. So I tend to see this as a form of active recall and spaced repetition, and I want to assume that you watching this video, you already know what active recall and spaced repetition is. But if you do not, I'm going to have something on the screen here for you as a quick summary of it. So I tend to see this as a form of active recall and spaced repetition because a number of these past questions are repeated or they are tweaked in one way or the other. So doing past questions would not only strengthen like neural pathways involved in solving these questions for your exams, but also to help you familiarize yourself with the exam situation. Also, one other minor arc that I want to talk about under your study routine is to have something to look forward to. This is what I did in my exams, and if you watch my previous vlog that I have up, you would see how I implemented that. For me, I had something to look forward to in the morning and in the evening before going to bed. So in the morning, my first hour of the day is spent making my cup of coffee, doing my skincare. Those are the things that actually bring me joy. And also in the evening, I also have my workout. Unfortunately, one of those people who actually enjoy cardio and the endorphins released at the end of it. So I added put in my daily routine at the end of the day. I'm sorry if you cannot hear me well, if it's starting to rain. So my fourth tip now would be have a regular sleep schedule. Now, I'm not giving you, oh, you should sleep a number. I'm not telling you to sleep 6 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours, or 2 hours. I'm not telling you how much you should sleep. You would have to decide that by yourself. You have to know that by yourself. But the focus is to have a regular sleep schedule. So it is easy to deprioritize sleep, especially since your exams are very close now. But I tell you, this is a bad idea. So instead of cutting off your sleep or sleeping only when you are very exhausted, my advice is for you to figure out how much sleep you think you would need per day, and then find a time slot in your routine that allows you to have that complete hours of sleep that you need in an uninterrupted fashion. So for me, during my exams, I decided I want to have between 4 to 6 hours of sleep per day during my revision period. So I blocked out 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. for that. So sometimes I'll sleep later than 12 a.m. but at the end of the day, I'll get my 4 to 6 hours uninterrupted sleep, because research has shown that the regularity of your sleep is almost as important as the duration of sleep itself. So whatever length that you decide on, make sure that it is at a set specific time of the day as much as you can. Lack of sleep will make you more irritable. It will make you be less able to focus, concentrate well, and this is not the time that for trial and error. We are not about to do all of this because we want to make an efficient use of this time that we do not have enough of. If you're finding these tips helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can watch other videos I have up about studying. I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers before the end of next month, so please subscribe to my YouTube channel. So one last tip before I round this off is stay calm. So you're probably rolling your eyes at this because stay calm, really, but as much as you're able to, please do, because what you're doing every day for this revision period leading up to the exam is taking in a huge amount of information within a short time period. And this is all well and good, but one thing that I can tell you with no iota of doubt is that being stressed out about it would not only impede the process of taking in more information, but also you recollecting it when you need to. And at this point, your goal is not to cover a lot of topics. I mean, that is just part of the journey. Your goal is to be able to reproduce what you have learned, what you have read very well in the best way possible for your exams. So while cramming works in the short term, all of these things work in the short term, you being stressed out about it is going to impede this whole process. So as much as possible, do all you need to do within reasonable limits to stay calm. Okay? And it is all about short-term discomfort over long-term gain. When you are done with it, you're done with it for life. Okay? So I'm wishing you the very best of luck if you're currently preparing for an exam, and if you are, please let me know what exam you're preparing for in the comment section below. Also, don't stress out so much. We've all been there, and each day you spend doing this is one day less that you have to do it. So make sure to make every day count, and we'll see you on the flip side. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and all of those good things, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.